So welcome everyone, warm welcome again, and thank you, James, for the opportunity once again, to meet everyone and maybe talk about some things and follow some things which take us towards more and more light. And I thank you all the participants who are online right now, and those who will be with the recordings, because it's a great sincerity and receptivity on your part that you come to the sessions. And I think this is a collective aspiration in human beings that connects us, an aspiration towards more light. And that's why we are receptive to more kind of get shedding off the baggage. So, so we won't be doing much introductions, because I think we have we know each other. And I think that is enough to know that we are all on the same path of moving towards more and more light and more towards our true self. What more introduction can one give? We'll, we'll skip the introduction part and move straight away to the theme of our discussions for 3 days, coming 3 days, which is the freedom from the freedom of self-forgetfulness and the freedom from self-obsession. So if I think it would be nice to start with what are our experiences, because somewhere I think all of us who have joined, somewhere we have felt the weight, where the baggage that we feel when we are self-obsessed. And that's why the topic has resonated. Otherwise, why would we be here? So, would anyone want to kind of share what brings us here, and what is it that we are trying to kind of, transcend in ourselves, which would give a nice base to our further interaction and discussion? Yeah. So you'll hear me talking all the time. So I don't want to do that, because all of us are co-travelers, right? So it's nothing like out of the world that I'm going to share here. We all know that. So let's share our experiences so that we learn and grow through those experiences, because we all resonate in those experiences, that we are not alone. It's happening with each and every one of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, Monica, while registering for the workshop, I just read a small paragraph, the write-up, the introduction to the workshop, and it completely, immediately resonated with, what one should be doing and what not. So that's the reason why I want to know, because basically what happens is there are things we know. And believe you me, you were the first one who introduced me to these workshops. It's been a long time. And I'm trying to use those tools. I've made notes and I've tried to use those tools. So I just want to stay connected with myself, not forget. And this is one way, a workshop, which I'm sure is going to provide us more tools to be aware of our own selves and what not, and what to be and what not to be. I have a father-in-law. My father-in-law is 93 years old. I should not be saying, but then I see a very small child in him. And there are things which I don't expect him to do as a daughter. Like my mother also, she's 80, and she also does certain things. I feel, mm, that let go is not there. So I'm not complaining, but I'm comparing. I don't want to go there that way. If I reach that age, if I'm 80, 70 plus, I don't want to do things. I don't want to be self-obsessed the way they are. I find them sometimes. And I'm trying to get ready and not do those things which, really irritate me. And I'm sure my children will get irritated if I also repeat those. So yes, why not start very early? I mean, like, I'm already 50, so let's do it. So I'm really
Beautiful.
looking forward.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. Mother says it's always too late and never too early. But it's always good to start from wherever we are. So yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Great. Anyone else would like to share their own something with us? Yes.
Okay, I feel that we have been walking through these paths for quite some time, no? As you say, sometimes also. So we need a break also to realize that we are actually practicing. But I feel that the more I try to surrender, the more I realize how many more attachments are there. So there is, from one part I can see also the improvements, or but that we can only surrender to the divine and say, please do continue to work within, because I do know that it's not just my work, and that's mine is really just the aspiration, but definitely the work comes from the grace within, from the divine. So the more we work together also as a group, as co-travelers, I think it'll be, there's a special grace.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes, Rakiji.
Yes, this is the first time I'm doing something from Aurobindo Society. So this caught my attention, self-forgetfulness. So, and I was wondering how this would look like. I have to forget myself. And it really felt very enticing to do something which would lead me to forgetting myself. So, yeah, so I realized there's a lot of heaviness which I feel when I define myself in terms of others or others in terms of me. And I feel verses are just about me in the moment and nothing else, no other attachments. So yeah, it's purely out of curiosity, and I don't want to forget myself and feel light. Is what brought me here.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'll speak. I feel a different level, an elevated level of consciousness when I'm in witness consciousness or when I'm absorbed in the task or the work that I'm doing. And I strive to spend as much time in a day in that zone as possible, but I also get carried away, caught up in um, with whatever's happening and whatever I seem to need to do. And when I step back, I realize that in those moments when I'm submerged in the world, I'm at a lower level of consciousness. So I just don't like it as much.
Very important. Yes, I think this is the task of integral yoga. This is what Sri Aurobindo says, that not only shall we feel delighted and full of ananda in the higher levels when we are there in those zones, but when we come down, that same ananda and the delight and the so-called higher light has to be there in the lower as well. So this is what we have to achieve actually. Yeah, beautiful. So thank you for touching that. Yes. Yes. Okay, so yeah, I think that gives a very beautiful base to us where to start from. And although I have compiled up a few writings of Mother Sri Aurobindo, and yes, Sundarji, would you like to add on?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I was
Okay.
just writing down my few. Yeah. See, I come to understand that being self forgetfulness is not as historic as spirituality is. On one hand, at the human level of understanding, we can only express, at the human level of understanding, we can only express our experiences and with the tools at our hands, which are at our disposal. Now, being self forgetfulness requires a very high level of commitment, and hence it has to be ethical. Just like a motor mechanic, while he's doing the work, he's totally into the work. He forgets himself. Similarly, a musician forgets himself. So, being self-forgetfulness requires the same body and mind to me, although uncluttered. So many may be lured into it, into this self-forgetfulness and giving up the worldly work or which is necessary for a living. That is maybe one of the dangers. And being kind of a very on a different plane, which is not easily understood by common man or by the family, immediate family. These are the few thoughts which come to my mind at the moment.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for touching on that. And I think through the course of our talks and discussions, maybe let's see if we touch upon what you have shared to address those. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as I was sharing that I have compiled a few write-ups from Mother and Sri Aurobindo, but it's not necessary that we'll be just following that one particular line that I have prepared. Although I would like all of us to ponder upon those words which have been compiled. So I will share that compilation with all of you. Maybe through the course of this workshop, we can touch upon and ponder upon those words, or maybe later as you feel like. So why this topic occurred to me was that I personally have felt how much weight self-obsession brings. And that weight doesn't appear right. When all the time you are thinking about my liking, I like this person or I don't like that person, I like this and I don't like this, it's not happening according to me. Why did that person not give that smile to me, but to that person? So whenever all these thoughts are going on in our head, unchecked, because usually our minds are totally out of control if we are not under any mind training. So in earlier workshops, I have always emphasized how important training of a mind is, training of our minds, because our minds are totally out of control. Thoughts are barging in and out throughout the day, and we are believing those thoughts. There is no check whatsoever. There is no witness, as Rick was pointing about the witness consciousness. We don't stand as witness. We totally identify with those thoughts most of the time if we are not following a protocol, of discipline. So then in those circumstances where I am totally identified with the thoughts, we will notice, and this we will take as a homework. So those of you who are writing somewhere, you can write that this is our homework to just keep a conscious kind of an awareness, conscious check on our thoughts. Conscious check that what kind of thoughts are coming in and going out, just check, noticing, not judging them, but just noticing. That are they always about you and the other fellow, or whether things did not happen according to you and happened according to somebody else, or maybe you didn't get enough respect or name other one got, or so is it always revolving around me and my family and my children, or what are we thinking all the time? So this is our homework, to become conscious of what are we thinking all the time. And when we are conscious of what are we thinking all the time, we will also get to know of our soft spots. What are our soft spots? Our attachment points, where we are attached in our life. So for many of us, it may be finances or money, or, where is my money going to come from? For some of us, it may be relationships, and not only all the relationships, maybe relationship with one particular fellow, which is again and again my point of kind of revolving around. So notice, where are your thoughts revolving? And when we notice this, we will, it's like a general conclusion. I'm not giving you a conclusion, but we will notice, and we have to still do the homework to get to know for our own self. We will notice that our thoughts are mostly circling around me and my story. And it doesn't bring us energy. it becomes cause of disappointment more often than not. And it makes me heavy. And it's not that I have not tasted those light moments where I have been without this story. We all have tasted those moments, as Sundarji was pointing out, when a mechanic is lost, completely absorbed in, something that he is doing. But the task is that, can I have a life which is not only when I'm not only self forgetful about this little self which I consider as myself, when I'm absorbed in something, but in general that becomes a way of life. Like in all movements of my life, I need not be bothered about thinking about me and my little self. Is it possible? And a small glimpse of its possibility we see in Mother's prayers and meditations. It has been my Bible, because in Mother's prayers and meditations, we get glimpses of the work she has done on herself as a human being turning divine. So she gives us pointers. And it's through Mother's prayers and meditations that self-forgetfulness came to me as a topic. And through, of course, my own personal experiences, that how chilled out actually and how relatively lighter we are when we are not thinking about what will happen of me or to me and my family and my children and my husband and my story, whether I will get the spiritual enlightenment or not, whether I will get promoted or whether I would get to the desired physical location or not. All this I don't have to bother about. So in those states, how beautiful we feel, how light we feel. And can that lightness be a way of life? So this is what we see in Mother's prayers and meditations, where she's again and again pointing that like how lovely it is, the felicity of self-forgetfulness, and how miserable we become when we are always self-obsessed. So she points out, and we will be taking those kind of excerpts when we touch upon those prayers where Mother shares about these things. Yes, Sundarji, you raised your hand.
Yeah, just to add to your thing, ma'am. See, what I have been experiencing and what I really, imbibe in myself is, if there is some discord, some discontentment with regard to any other, to say my daughter, my wife, or my son saying something, or something is amiss which I don't like, and I feel hurt, and then it remains there for a few minutes maybe, and then I said, forget it. It's okay. Let it go. Let go, and then come back to our, and then try to establish again a very peaceful and a loving relationship. Compassion, love comes in. So that this practice I've been doing right from my childhood. It's inbuilt in me. So, for an example, my wife would remember things which are not very, very pleasant, which happened earlier, many, many years back. So I don't remember at all. I forget that, forget them. She will remember that you said this, you did this, you did remember you had gone there, you didn't take whatever it is. See, I don't remember at all. So that thing gives a lot of freedom, of to myself. I just forget. Even if somebody abuses me, and then okay, a little bit I may feel hurt, but then later on I said, okay, let it go. It doesn't matter. Again, we come back, and I surprise my ill feeling towards him, and then be more in cordial and a pleasant state of mind. That is what I understand is one way of dealing with certain, one of the ways of self forgetfulness, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Yes. So we'll just start to go through a few slides and just kind of for pondering and for contemplation. So I hope this is visible to all of us, and we'll just not focus too much on the material, but just take out kind of pointers, not get lost completely, but take out pointers related to what we are discussing right now. So what Kumla ji was sharing in the beginning, that what she does is that she again and again reminds herself. So that reminding is very important, because according to Mother's story of creation, if I think I'm sure all of us must have gone through, if not earlier. Let's go through it today. That mother shares that how all the powers that were sent out to create the creation, they kind of broke off from the divine source. So here, mother shares that the moment the individual consciousness broke off from the divine consciousness, it created the seed of separation. So no wonder that all of us feel something is lacking, because we are separated from something. Like in the ultimate, we are not separated. We are actually one with that. But in conscious terms, we are separated. That's why we continue to feel this lack. And the more we continue to feel this lack, the more we feel that I am less, and the more I am self-obsessed, because now I have to become more. So that memory of something large, something more is there in our consciousness. And this is where it is coming from, because we were all divine, and we are even right now divine, but not knowingly. So mother shares that separation, that forgetfulness, that forgetting of or disconnecting from the divine source created the seed of separation. Now we are starting at the very beginning from for the cause of misery. Where is the misery coming from? The moment the individual consciousness ceased to follow the divine, it did not remain identified with the movement of the divine consciousness. This produced a separation. So it's like I am the divine mother, and I give the child like 50 rupees. Okay, go get the bread. And the child goes out. And when he goes out in the market, he has forgotten what was the task given by whom or what. And he has now his 50 rupees with him, and he does whatever loitering around he can do with those 50 rupees, lost, completely lost. So this is what happened with us, mother shares. That the divine sent out all these energies and powers for the creation, and the powers upturned. They disconnected from the divine source and became their opposite. So bliss became suffering. Consciousness became unconsciousness. Immortality became mortality. So everything turned to its opposite. So this produced a separation. And it is this separation, mother says, it is this separation that is the cause of all misery. And in this separation, we feel that we are very limited beings. I am this little self. And it never feels enough, because it's not our true self. It always feels lacking. And the more I am feeling lacking, the more I want to be more. And the more I'm self-obsessed with all the thoughts about me and my story, and how I can become more and more delightful, and more in ananda, and more blissful. And it's like a never-ending vicious loop in which we are stuck. So mother says all the miseries in this universe are the result of this separation of the individual consciousness, which for some reason or other did not remain identified with the primal, with the origin divine consciousness. It separated. It did not deliberately separate, but it did not remain identified. And this is our task, what Komla ji pointed out in the beginning. We have to again and again consciously, because unconsciously we will not remain in touch with the divine. That's why effort is needed. That's why we are doing these workshops, because in unconsciously we are turning, like it's a mechanical movement that is running, and we don't remain identified with the divine consciousness. So we have to put personal effort so as to one part of us is remaining identified with the divine consciousness. It can be anywhere. Sri Aurobindo says that one part could be anywhere. We could be from mental being, we can be in touch with the divine. From feeling parts, we can be in the divine consciousness, maybe from the heart or in the body. So when one thread of our consciousness is consciously trying to be in touch with the divine, then this process can reverse. So this is why personal effort, aspiration, as Sri Aurobindo says, is required, because everything has turned its opposite, and which was all unified, it has become separated. And that's why as egos, what we think we are, we feel we are always little and lacking, and something is not full. So at any point, whenever you want to share anything, please raise your hand or unmute and share. So then Sri Aurobindo says that the fulfillment, the perfection, the satisfaction of the individual, which is most important for us, because that is why I am always absorbed with thoughts of me and my story, because I'm not satisfied. You know, whether it is a satisfaction coming from a relationship or your job or life, you are not satisfied. I am not satisfied. So Sri Aurobindo says the fulfillment, the perfection, the satisfaction of the individual is best assured not by satisfying the narrow ego, but by finding freedom in a higher and a larger self. This is what we will be compelled to go towards, because the more I buy for myself, the more I try to secure my own happiness by this or that means, I see that the more I am away from that. Haven't I ran enough after those people, after those situations, and still I feel empty? So what is it that I'm missing? So Sri Aurobindo says that even if the ego wants to be fulfilled, and which it wants to be, because it is not satisfied with the lack, it's birthright. It's the birthright of the ego to be fulfilled. That birthright will be fulfilled by knowing that we are a larger self and not by identifying as the ego. So ultimately, we will have to move towards forgetting ourselves at that little ego, because that's not where I find fulfillment. So one has to move higher up, and that higher movement is very, very important movement in integral yoga, where Sri Aurobindo says that it's just here. It's right above our head. That larger consciousness is right above our head. So it's not only deeply connecting in our heart, which is the psychic consciousness. Parallelly, we have to become our wider self. We have to identify with our larger consciousness, which is right above our head. So psychic transformation and spiritual transformation. Without that, the relief from this narrow limiting self is not going to come. So though both movements have been emphasized by Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and at several times to different sadhaks, that go deeper within to your heart, and where you find that warmth and sweetness, a silence and warmth and sweetness, that is your psychic. So remain in touch with that portion of you, and also remain in touch from time to time with something above your head. It's like a larger consciousness, where we all are united, we all are one. So both movements we have to simultaneously take care of. Otherwise, what happens to us is that if we don't connect and simultaneously, keep kind of alternating between these movements and let them do their work, what happens is that in meditative silences, I am fine. I'm happy. The moment I interact with our daily day-to-day affairs, my job, maybe somebody on the phone, and go outside, to the shopkeepers or on the road, people in my own family, relatives, there the change has to come. So when we are alternating in our empty times with the deep warmth and sweetness within, and rising above in the higher consciousness, just above our head, and staying there, and let it come down. You don't have to pull it down, let it come down, and do the work of change. Then slowly we see that even while interacting with others, one part of my being, one thread of my being can be in touch either with the deep depth of my heart or above my head. And that helps me change my lower nature, which is important, which is very important. Because what is my spiritual progress will be discussed, it's like a test, litmus test. Have I become a good person? Is there divinity in my day-to-day thoughts, feelings, and actions? And if that is not there, I mean, I don't care how many times I have read synthesis of yoga or life divine. I mean, it's not a kind of a badge on my coat. Nothing doing. Nothing doing. The very litmus test that comes to forefront is, how am I dealing with my relatives, my family, strangers? What are my thoughts saying? What are my feelings saying? Where are they going? Has their natural pattern become positive? Or is their natural pattern still negative and I have to pull them? It's like just noticing. We are noticing. And lately I was just wondering, when we begin to learn a new game, I started playing a new game and I was realizing that the first day of that new game, out of 100 balls, not even a single ball I could play rightly. Because my nature right now, by default, is that I'm not trained in it, right? So what I do is, like, I play haphazard. The body is not trained, the mind is not trained. So the first day of my practice is like, out of 100 balls, not even one balls with the right poise and right stance. And then slowly, as we train, we see that, oh, out of 50 balls, actually I am able to hit 20 rightly now. Practice. And slowly, very soon, if I'm at it, I see that now I have, out of 100, 70 balls are right. And 30, I still have to strive. I have to put conscious effort to make them right. And slowly, over years of practice, like which we see with experts in those games, like tennis or, hockey or anything, you see that those people, those experts who have spent years training on those games, now it is impossible for them to make a wrong move. That is transformation of nature. Now the wrong comes to them by putting effort. They have to put effort in wrong. But without effort, they are actually playing right. But do we see the hours of practice they have put in there? And I'm sure all of us must be trained in something or the other, maybe some cooking, maybe some embroidery, or, making some music or voice, vocals. And if we see, we can notice that the more hours of practice we put in there, the more the transformation of nature happens, as if your vocal cord cannot sing a wrong note now. It's impossible for it to sing a wrong note. So that is transformation of nature. So this is what I have to notice in myself, that where are my thoughts going? Have they been transformed? And if not, I keep at it. It's not like I'm judging them, but there is a discernment which is at work. So the witness consciousness is full of discernment. It knows. It knows where it is going astray. It knows where it is going right towards the light. And that is what we have to follow. That's our inner light, inner compass. And all of us, no matter how many years or, less years, more years, it doesn't matter. We recognize, if we are sincere, we recognize immediately where we should not have thought that thing, where we should not have spoken out that word, or maybe have stepped back, should have stepped back, but could not. So that inner correction is going on all the time. That is because of our aspiration, personal effort. And slowly, in these lower interactions, we have to change everything to divine. That is our task in integral yoga. Sri Aurobindo is not satisfied with us and with himself. He says, nothing less will do. All the lower movements have to turn to divine. Otherwise, just meditating and being there, yes, that's important as well, because there we are working, kind of, opening to grace, and the grace then comes down, percolating in our body, mind, and feelings, and does its work. That's also important. But I feel that along with that, simultaneously, always we have to be ready for the battlefield and actually jump in the battlefield, not shy away. Because what's the point of a warrior who doesn't go to a battlefield? And the prayer that mother gave is, make us of the hero warriors that we want to become. How am I going to become a hero warrior just kind of, lying down on my bed and in my solitude, I'm all happy. But the moment I interact with people, I see what all trouble I still carry. So that's where the thing has to change. And that's where I have to notice that how much again and again I keep still thinking about myself and not actually put others in the forefront. And recently I came across this beautiful documentary, which I thought I'll just tell you the name, and if some of us can go through, they should. I think it's very inspirational. It gave me almost tears in my eyes and a lot of inspiration of what is possible of us. So there's this documentary on one of the heroes actually from 9/11, and it's called The Man in Red Bandana. Some of us may have watched it. I don't know. I just came across it like that. And it's so beautiful where they share that how a very young firefighter, young gentleman, unknowingly, anonymously, nobody knows that he is doing something for the others. He saved so many lives by doing what he really was called out to do, and succumbing to everything himself. Like, he did not live to tell the tale, but they found out later that what he did was so courageous, but for him it was not really courageous. For him it was a nature's call. Like, he could not help but do that. So that's the transformation of nature, putting others at front, putting the right at front at your own stake. And this we have in our freedom fighters, and people who have remarkable people who have been in the history of humankind, who have put others front, who have put the right in front rather than their own self. So that has to become a norm for us, not just some people who do that. And as Sri Aurobindo says in Synthesis of Yoga, this union with the divine consciousness and in each part of my being has to become a norm for a human being. It's like right now only some of us are consciously doing yoga, right? And rest of us may be doing unconsciously, but it's not like their nature doesn't call for it. So Sri Aurobindo says that ultimate victory of nature is where yoga becomes a norm. Like how we breathe and eliminate and eat, it's a norm for the human body. So the yoga, the union with the divine consciousness in each part of our body is a norm. That is the victory of nature, he says. And it will happen. It has to happen. That's where we all are tending more and more. So anything here? Anyone? Yes, please.
Yeah, one thing helps, it's a very recent development. It's that before now, there are two things. One is a question. The the modern day society, or the modern day, today's, not modern day, today's social interactions, relationships, uh, it it lacks, or there is a total decline of having a normal conversation with any person. You must have observed this. There is no more a normal conversation happening. It's all digitized. It's more to do what WhatsApp with Instagram and other things. That is number one. Decline in that interface. Number one. Number two, this has led to a lot of complications, and a lot of each one into his own shell, and misunderstanding, and ego coming in, playing a major role with each and every person, trying to prove his point, and to an extent that ultimately supposing, for example, I may not be quoted, I support BJP, you support some other political party. If you don't agree, then there's a dissent, and then the next time you meet him, he will not talk to you. it becomes a kind of a war situation, whether it's to do with any kind of a religious practices, which or the move of the government or any state which is there, whether it's Bengal or Tamil Nadu, this language. I'm talking in relation to the society in which we are living, particularly in context to our Indian situation, world over maybe. Secondly, this is one question which comes in. What is the role? What is expected of us in this self-forgetfulness? What do we do? That question remains. Number two is that when I speak to somebody, after listening is very important, very very important. Listen, and then before speaking or saying whatever I want to say, just pause for a minute or a few seconds, think what you're going to say. That helps a lot. Understanding what the other person is saying and what I have to respond, and reflect on what exactly I have to say. It cannot be just extempore, whatever comes to my mind, whatever feeling, whatever emotions I have, should not be thrown out. Keeping it inside and understanding what I have to say, just mentally rehearsing what I have to say, and then correcting myself as per the moments, as per the situation, as per the conversation takes place. I think that practice, it's again a yoga. What, if, in other words, I think this is one of the ways which one can really have a lot of peace of mind and equanimity and uh, harmony within oneself and in relation to the others as well. These are the two things which immediately come to my mind while hearing your wonderful lecture session, your thoughts, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Sundarji. Yeah, anything else anyone wants to add on with that? Okay, so I'm moving ahead, if that's okay with us. So we have understood and we are trying to understand that we are not going to be fulfilled by always trying to run after my own fulfillment. And the true fulfillment is finding our true consciousness, which is just above and within as well at the same time. We have to unite with that. There is no other chance that we have. There is an effort that has to be constantly put. Why constantly put? Because we forget. We forget. So as we were talking about any expert in a particular play, he has to constantly put hours and hours of practice if he wants to be a good player. Same with us right now. Since that nature is not a very usual nature for us, the divine nature is not a usual nature for us. For that, we have to put effort. The usual nature is a small, limited, narrow consciousness, which always is thinking about itself. So there we have to put effort to again keep united with the right frame. So he says there is no happiness in smallness of the being, says the scripture. It is with the large being who we are actually really, but we don't know consciously. So it's like a king sitting on, like a beggar actually, who is a king, but he's sitting on his own treasure and doesn't know, poor fellow, he doesn't know that he's continuously begging throughout the day. But the ground that he's sitting on contains a treasure, and he has to dig the treasure right where he's sitting. Otherwise, he can continue go begging. I mean, unconsciously, we are all kings. But what is the point of that being a king when we live life like a beggar? So I'm sitting on my own treasure, and throughout the day, I'm just begging. In what sense begging? Listen to my viewpoint. I am saying the right point, my experience, my story, but me. But I want to say that. So it's like it's like a parallel movement that has to happen, because if I continue to feel like a beggar, I cannot fake being like a king. So the parallel movement is that to continue uniting with our true consciousness deep in the heart, with the warmth and the sweetness and the silence that is there when we get in touch with that, and above our head, We continuously connect with our larger, deeper self, which is full of abundance. And when we get more a hang of it, then we can let go of the begging. Because parallelly, I am getting in touch with my abundance. So don't expect me to stop begging before I become abundant. I will continue to beg. It's like what Sri Aurobindo says, that if you continue to always clean away the garbage that vital brings, the garbage of emotions, the garbage of all these ill will and bad energies, that's not the right way, he says, because then you will just continue cleaning and the more garbage will come, you continue cleaning. He says the right way is to establish a positive peace in all your being. Because peace itself is very positive and dynamic. So what happens is that because of the peace present in the whole, all of the being, mental, emotional, vital, and the physical being, the garbage will stop to come. It will not come anymore. It will reduce its frequency. So he says that just rejecting is not the right way. Establish something solid and positive which removes the odor or the bad smell, which keeps on collecting again and again. So again, we have to see that these are parallel movements we have to engage in. Along with the rejection of the lower impulses, which we know by our witnessing that these are lower, we have also to establish a solid peace, like a mountain peace, doesn't move. Unshakable peace in the mind, in your heart, and in the cells of the body. So it's like, there is a physical space. You must have seen there is a physical space, and if you place a kind of one garbage there, and then the other person realizes, oh, somebody has thrown garbage there, I can also throw. So someone brings more garbage, and then someone else brings more garbage, and it becomes a garbage place, right? And then every day the workers are coming, they are cleaning, but every day someone or the other throws one piece of garbage there. And the other person thinks, oh, it's a garbage place, let's throw some garbage, right? And every day the same process has to be repeated. What? That the workers have to come and again clean the garbage that keeps on coming in, trickling in every day by separate individuals every day. Or what we do is, we just create such an ambience in that space that nobody dares to throw a garbage. We all have seen such places, no? Where it's like the sanctity of the space is such that you can't think, that you may think of some throwing it somewhere else, but not here, because it doesn't feel like you can throw it here. So that is the sanctity, Sri Aurobindo says, the solid peace brings in the body. And when I'm talking about garbage, we have to notice our context. The garbage is full of these self-obsessive thoughts and feelings, that who hurt my feeling today? Let me see, let me revise. And as Sundarji was sharing in the beginning, that he forgets. And I think that's a beautiful way. That's what we have to do. I mean, how does it matter? People say all kind of things in their ignorance. We don't know what we are saying. So what is the point of carrying it all along, when the lightness is just a throwaway? We just shed off, done. And it's a choice that we have to make. Every moment, Sri Aurobindo says that we have to make a choice to shed off the past. And the past is not what happened to me 30 years ago. The past is what happened to me 1 second ago. Because that's how I keep myself fresh. Freshness comes when we shed off the garbage full of self-obsessive thoughts of how you were insulted and how you were humiliated and how it should not have been done, how you did not deserve it. All of that. It has to be shed off, because you make a choice. You say, I make a choice every moment of my life. I will keep shedding off this garbage. I am a swachhata worker. I am a, cleaner, sweeper. So this is the sweeping that has to be done continuously, as we were sharing, until the time that a clean environment becomes like a natural thing, like right now, a sound intellect and, things that we take for granted. Breathing is going on. We are taking it for granted. So until the point, effort has to be put where cleanliness becomes our one nature, and there is no other possibility. And we all know that we have a long way to go. So the effort, and as we were sharing, that why we come to these workshops or why we read these books, because it reminds us the work to be done. We may have traveled so far, but Mother says still we have to travel so further ahead. So never to be self-satisfied, to keep looking with discernment. What is there which is not suiting the temple within? Let us keep cleaning that also and establish something so beautiful inside, so that the garbage doesn't dare to come. And there is no need for that to come. And as I was sharing, that parallelly we have to know our abundant nature, our larger, wider nature. Because if I don't identify constantly with that, I will continue to feel limited, a lacking individual with very, very limited and narrow consciousness, and that can never be happy. And when I am identified with my little narrow consciousness, then Sri Aurobindo says, be sure that in you is awake the eternal fool. So it's always like a click away. The eternal fool is within us. It's sleeping and then it becomes awake. Whenever I'm jealous or disappointed, or why that person said this thing to me, he should not have said, why can't he behave properly? So he says, whenever these things happen, be sure, tell yourself that in me is awake the eternal fool. And it's like a collective fool, it's like it's present in collective consciousness. Billions of human beings, and we have the same collective consciousness from which we draw things. So that eternal fool belongs to each one of us, whenever it is awake or whenever it's sleeping. So it's a lot of effort, I feel. It's really like and it has to, as Sri Aurobindo and Mother say, that you have to feel called for it. Otherwise, why would you put so much effort? And also to know that if you feel that you are called for it, and maybe someone else doesn't right now have a calling. I mean, come on. We also didn't have a calling before. Be empathetic. So again, that superiority complex that from time to time come, this is what we are trying to rise above. That look, I am doing the yoga, but poor fellows, what do they know? So this is what we have to catch in the head. It's like we are just inverting the whole synthesis of yoga and really disrespecting it when we are doing that. Reading synthesis of yoga, reading Life Divine, reading Mother's words and Sri Aurobindo's words, and still behaving like, mean people. I feel that we act really mean. Sri Aurobindo and Mother really expect something higher of us, after having read so much. Come on, let us soften down, really, we have to really soften down in our hearts, so that we know that the synthesis and the Life Divine and Mother's prayers and meditations, they have really worked on us, right? They have changed our body consciousness. Beautiful, good human beings who are not self-concerned throughout the day, and who are totally abundant in themselves. And that's why not insecure and wanting attention again and again from other people, rather than very ready to give attention to other people. So I mean, we deserve this, because I feel that this is one thing, and goodwill. We lack goodwill. after having read so much, after having discussed so many study circles and sessions and whatnot, we lack goodwill. So to catch ill will whenever it arises, to catch it, nip it in the bud. The moment it arises, to know that it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to collective consciousness, and this is not me. Sorry, I'm not allowing it again. And slowly, 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 that it becomes our nature to be good-willed. So catch the ill will. We have to catch the ill will, and especially in terms of our very close relations. It's a very sad situation that we live in, that people who actually are very closely related to us, I may be wrong, but I see that largely we don't have goodwill towards them. We may have goodwill towards strangers. No? It's easy to have goodwill towards strangers, no? We are not attached to them. We are detached. Yeah. But this needs to be worked upon. We can't be satisfied with this half growth. So the challenge, we all know, is there with us 24 hours, right in front of us, maybe in front of our eyes at times physically, or if not, maybe mentally, we are with the challenge. And there we have to make the difference. All of us have to make the difference. We have to be the children of Mother Sri Aurobindo. And otherwise, I mean, how can we expect a life divine to be here if we don't collaborate? You can stop reading. You can stop, reading those big books that we claim to read, because we have read enough. Bring the change in the day-to-day thoughts, feelings, and actions. Then go back to books later. But I think, again, I repeat in my workshops that I feel we have read enough. Most of us have read enough. We know the change to be made. I mean, books may give again and again reminders, as we were discussing, that, oh, I forgot that I had to make that change. I've read this several times, but I haven't made the change. And it's beautiful when we are reading them, isn't it? When we are going through lines of Savitri and again reading same paragraphs of Life Divine, and it's beautiful, like something in us resonates. But I have to check for myself, is the practical change made? And I feel we become like a sloth when it comes to practical change, because we think it's okay, I mean, if not today, maybe tomorrow. I mean, progress is slow. So we have to stop. I feel we have to a little bit stricter on ourselves and stop giving that discount that we give to ourselves. That for wrong reasons, I don't take that discount. For right reasons, yes, you have to forgive someone, give that discount, one more chance, one more chance. So give others more and more chances, but not yourself.
I think we need to, like when we practice, we need to preach less and practice more. We tend to preach so much. I know what you need to do. I know where you went wrong. You should not have done this. You shouldn't have said this. This is where you're right or wrong. But when it comes to me, I will not witness my own self, react with impulse, and then not forgive, maybe not accept. But the right tool should be acceptance. First of all, we need to accept people around us. Then only there are reactions. If somebody is like this, let him be, let her be. You do not, you just accept the person for your own peace first. And then forgive sometimes or every time. Forgive, maaf karo matlab, like it's okay. Let it be. And also witness. That word witness that you had long time shared in a workshop, it stays with me. it is there. So whenever I react, next second I know, what did I do?
Yeah.
So try not to do it next time, at least. Now what you've done is done, but then at least remind yourself, and you have to practice, keep doing that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And mother says that the more shocking we find things in others, I'm sure or some of us may have gone through that word, the sentence of that the quote of the mother, where she says, whenever you find something shocking in the other, how could that person do that? Be sure that this is present in you. Isn't that amazing? I mean, and if I just remember again and again, since it's like a lot of tamas that we have, due to which we forget, like, what we call ignorance, we become blind again and again. Such is our capacity to become blind. Again and again we get eyes, but again and again we become blind. And it's because of that tamas that we carry. Like, it's a lot of tamas that we carry, due to which we forget. So we have to remind that whenever we find something shocking in the other person, something disappointing, like how could that person do that? If we are a little bit sincere, mother says we will find the very same thing right away within us. And then we will stop to be shocked. And then, as you were sharing, then it will be easier to forgive. Because what is there to forgive? It's collective consciousness. I also have that. You also have that. Lying, for example, if somebody lies to you, you feel, how could that person lie to me? Now, if you are sincere, really sincere, you will see, haven't I lied? Don't I lie in my life? Haven't I lied? So what did that person do which I don't do? So I feel that the more honest we become with ourselves, we see that it's very easy to forgive, and slowly the forgiveness thing goes away, because even when we are trying to forgive someone, you are placing yourself somewhere higher. No? But the point of forgiveness goes away when you are on the same ground. I mean, it's okay, human nature, man. Come on. Everybody lies. But the point is, am I transcending my own lying nature? That is, I have to see what I have to see. I can't change others, but through others who are mirrors to me, I can change myself. What a beautiful service they are doing to me. So whatever shocking I see, again, self-obsession, for example, what we are talking, like getting rid of self-obsession. If we notice somebody being self-obsessed, if I'm truly sincere and want to work on myself, I will see the traces of self-obsession I also carry. And it will give me a moment, it will give me an opportunity to transcend those traces also now. Because as you were sharing in the beginning, you don't like in those other people, the self-obsession. So I don't want to be like that. So they are showing up us the mirror. Whatever traces are left of that poison, they are telling that, see, lady, you don't want that. So I think they're doing, everybody, each one of us is like a vast interconnected web. We are doing each other a great service. And there is nothing out of us. That person doesn't lie out of my consciousness. What he's showing me is part of my consciousness, which I don't want to see. Because I feel that, no, I am not that. He is that. Again, that superiority that we carry. This is what we have to get rid of. So again, to again and again remind ourselves that we have individual soul. All of us carry an individual soul, the inner compass, the inner light. Then we have the universal, the cosmic nature. And in that nature, we are all one. That nature is full of all the rubbish also, as well as with the good qualities. So jealousy, ambition, lust, self-obsession, all of that is part of that collective nature. So then slowly I'm not shocked by other people's actions. It is part of that collective nature. So just remind. Yes, Sundarji, sorry. Yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am, just a thought. I mean, see, all of us, each one of us perceive life in terms of how we benefit or lose from it. So we as humans, quantify and qualify, and thus the question of veracity of the things happening to us, thus the truthfulness of the things happening to us, whether it's correct or incorrect. Now, we all expect life should be kind to us. That's how we want it. Now, in this context, what is Sri Aurobindo and Mother saying about this aspect? Can you throw some light on that?
So you're asking that we all want that life should be kind to us. And what Mother and Sri Aurobindo have to say about that?
Yeah, and then also how did they perceive life in terms of how they benefited or lost from it? Hence, we as humans quantify and qualify, and thus question the veracity of the things happening to us.
Hmm.
Veracity meaning the quality of being true or correct, the habit of
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
the truth.
yeah.
That is my question. That how thus the question of veracity of things happening to us. Now,
Yeah.
the life should also be kind to us. That's how we want it. And it is impossible also to add to it is impossible for life to be the way we wish. Simply because we are neither alone in life nor can we control the sides of things that happen. In
Yes.
fact, billions of things are happening at every second, right from the bacteria that surround us to the activities that goes around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
then, lastly, ma'am, if
yes,
we
please.
consider chances, if we consider the chance as the cause of the universe, we then need just to know what are the constants, how do they happen, and how they can be utilized for our life purpose. For example, gravity. Then there is no point of religion and the associated activities or belief systems that go with it. We may need morals or ethics to lead life of relative peace.
So I think I won't be able to answer all the
Okay.
things, all the
Thank you,
things.
ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just few of my musings which I have been writing and
Yeah, sure. You're most welcome to share your musings. And I won't dare to answer or share anything, but what in the context of our discussion, what I can carry forward is that what I understand so far from Mother and Sri Aurobindo is that we are not here to have settled and happy families. That is not the purpose of life. And the purpose of life, and that's why we suffer, because we all want settled and happy families. We suffer very badly in that. Very, very badly we suffer, because it's like somewhere an ideal is there in my mind, which I have never questioned. And I'm carrying that ideal also through the Bollywood and the Hollywood and, everything that social media impact, which tells me that this is how it should be, life happily ever after. And what I have understood is, and again, please take whatever I'm saying with your own understanding and pinch of salt, and interrogate it in terms of your own life. What I understand is that we are not here to have settled and happy families. That is not the primary purpose of us being here. The primary purpose of all of the human beings being here is to carry forward the task of nature and to collaborate in bringing back that consciousness that separated in the beginning from the divine consciousness to its full circle. And on this very earth, in this material consciousness, bring that divine consciousness here on earth. That is the task. Now, for that, I may have a family, I may not have a family, I may have 10 tragedies, 100 tragedies, I may lose 10 people in my life, I may not lose 10 people in my life. That is all secondary. That is all secondary. That is not the purpose of human life. And once we clear that in our mind again and again, that, oh my God, what am I expecting from this relationship or that? That is not the purpose that I'm here. We are here to find our true consciousness. And without finding our true consciousness, I cannot do the task the divine has given me, which I have myself chosen actually in real terms. Mother says that we jumped into this adventure. We jumped consciously. But now we are asking, Divine, why did you send me here? Like that. As if somebody else has sent us here. So it's like, blaming someone else for our own condition, which is not true. So that's why we remind ourselves that why am I here? This is a very important question, which should be actually part of education. Our education, school education should be, interacting with students. Why are we here? Are we here just to earn money and have a settled job? Because that doesn't satisfy people. So what is our true purpose? And what we understand, and I think, please see it in terms in your life, of your life. Don't just believe it right away just because someone has said it. See that what do you think? And do this I'm sure all of us have done this in our silences. What do you think the true purpose of being human is? Am I walking on that path? Because this has to be done collaboratively, consciously, because it's only the human being, Sri Aurobindo says. It's only the human being who knows that he knows. Now, what do I do with this capacity that nature has brought for us? I know that I know. Now, when I look at a thought, I know the thought. And hence, with that witnessing, the knowing of the thought, there is a steering that you can do, because the inner light is also given to you. So you know which way is the right way. We all know. It's just that we forget. So this, according to what I've understood so far, is what we have to do. We have to make the best use of that opportunity that nature has given us. And Sri Aurobindo says, and I'm sure some of us may have gone through all of that, how we were as rocks, inanimate rocks, sleeping consciousness. Then we became kind of, a little bit higher gradation of consciousness. Plants can feel, can sense, but doesn't know that I can feel. Then we become insects, creatures. All of us have gone through those stages. Higher animals, dinosaurs, Neanderthal man, ape man, this man, that man, and now Homo sapiens. And this is, again, as Sri Aurobindo says, this is not the end. Homo divinus. So far, so much nature has done in order to evolve that which is involved in us. The spirit is right here, but I don't know. I don't live a life that I am spirit. I live like an animal mostly. So if human beings have the capacity to steer their life consciously, we have to make the best use of that steering, because the inner compass has been given to us. According to that, we will steer. If I don't steer my life consciously, I mean, why am I human being at all? An animal also reproduces, it also eats, it also eliminates, it also breathes, it also can sense and feel. How am I different from an animal? Because I can become conscious of my own parts of the being, and hence I can steer and collaborate in the process of nature creating a homo divinus out of me. If I don't do that, what are we doing here? And that's why I feel that we are not here to have settled and happy families. So when tragedies happen, like to me, it happened, for example, so-called tragedy, okay, going through cancer. I mean, it's a very secondary thing. The universe is trying to tell me, wake up. What are you here for? Like Satyavan, when he's dying, Savitri is being woken up. Remember why thou camest. You didn't come for, for this all grief and having a good material life. Remember your purpose, remember your mission. And each one of us is Savitri, because all of us have some grief or the other in life, no? some disappointment or other. We have to wake up to our mission. Each one has a mission. So when we wake up to that mission, and we what we are doing actually is that we are negating our self-obsessed behavior. We are saying, no, all of that grief and disappointment may be there. It's part of human nature. But what am I here for? So there you are actually becoming self-forgetful. It's a part hand in hand that we are doing, So parallelly, we are becoming conscious of our deeper truth. And for that, you have to declutter all those things which are common. It's very common to be jealous. It's very common to think about all the time my story, my drama, my relationships, my relatives, my parents. Very, very common. Come on. We have to get away from that. We have to, it's there. It's part of our nature right now. But this is not what we have to do. It's like, you have to put it aside. Otherwise, how will I focus? How will I get to the mission? So what happens to us is that universe is very kind. The divine is very kind. And through that kindness, we create such situations in our life that some or the other tragedy happens through which I become aware of my mission. Because otherwise I am scattered and my mind is not on my mission. I am just loitering around my time with who said what to me, and oh my God, you all know what I'm talking of. So that's why the tragedy strikes, because I create the tragedy as a soul consciousness. I create the tragedy for myself so that I can be reminded of my true mission, because my mind is so scattered all the time. And when pain comes, when suffering comes, the mind becomes concentrated, doesn't it? We become hopeless. We say, oh no, samsara, so painful. I am not getting, any delight through this samsara. It's so draining, right? This is what happens to us when we go through a so-called tragedy in samsaric life. It's very important for us, because otherwise we are scattered. So we have to make the best use of that. If a tragedy has, struck, we have to make disappointment has struck, the best use. When a disappointment strikes, I have to again remind myself, what am I doing? Again expecting. This is not what I'm here for. The world cannot give me anything lasting. So why am I like a fool? Sri Aurobindo says, eternal fool. Why am I expecting from a wrong place? Expect from a right place. And then tomorrow we will discuss more in detail how Mother in prayers and meditations gives us a remedy. So the cause of misery, we went through a little. Separative consciousness, ego consciousness, which always feeling full of lack, cannot ever get satisfied, cause of misery. Always wanting, ever lacking. Like a bottomless pit. It's eating and still wanting more. Our ego is like that, never getting satisfied. Not enough fame yet, not enough respect yet. My children don't respect me. That person doesn't respect me. I mean, how much of respect you want? What do you want to do with that? So greedy. So Mother gives us a remedy in prayers and meditation. She says, self-giving. It's like, the image that is there when we try to contact our larger consciousness just above the head. It's like you take a glass and there is an ocean above your head and you are thirsty, or the ocean, it's not a salty ocean. It's like an ocean which can quench your thirst. So you take a glass, make it stable, take it up there. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to fill up the ocean in your glass. But then you drink it and the glass is a glass. It's a small glass. It's doesn't quench your thirst for a long time. You again are thirsty again. So you go up again. You have a glass. You're waiting for the ocean to fill the glass. You bring it down again and you drink. You're again thirsty. So again, the same process of lack is going on. So what you do is you take the glass and then above the ocean of vastness is there. And yet then you throw away the glass. Now there is no glass. all that is there is the ocean. And this is again one symbology that we can use of self-giving in one terms. You offer yourself. You stopped asking for yourself. How much should I ask? Come on. And when people are asking, then you are feeling how much will he ask? Always wanting, wanting, wanting. But we don't see how much are we wanting all the time. Wanting the situations to be how I want it to be. Why things are not happening, how they should happen. I know how they should happen. So how much I will want. So it's like end of begging through self-giving. The beggar doesn't exist anymore. It's sublimated. The beggar is sublimated. But it's a very mystical beggar. It can arise out of its ashes. So, so we have to be on our guard, always conscious whenever the beggar is arising out of the ashes, and to nip it in the bud. And to know that it is an old tendency, it will come again and again, and not only in me, in everyone it comes, and it's okay. I mean, I have to work on myself. I have to offer myself. I have to give myself to the situations, to the divine inwardly and outwardly, to people, to situations, to what is right. What is right. Knowing that how much misery it brings when I keep asking. So to be in touch with that misery also, because it gives a good reminder. So any last concluding comments or sharings, anyone? Don't forget the homework. I gave all of us a homework to do. And the homework is that we have to be conscious of what we are thinking and feeling. And just notice what are the thoughts and feelings circling around. Notice for our own self. And then how does it affect my being when they are circling around this or that? How does it affect my being? So like a curious scientist, we have to observe this in ourselves.
It's very interesting actually that it happens very often, more and more often, that you realize as the thing is happening, as the judgment is happening, as if at a certain point it took me 1 month and then again slower and slower, but sometimes, or I just did it and I'm like, oh, I did it again,
Exactly.
but it's happening. But there is still lots to work on, lots, because as much as that much has been taken, I realized right now while you were speaking, for example, how I have tried to correct others, and maybe it's also okay. I don't know how, yeah, even in a nice way, but I have decided that I have the right to do that. Even though maybe I might, in some different ways, do the same kind of mistakes that I perceived, which doesn't mean it was a mistake. It's I perceived it as a mistake, So even the restarting point of apologizing to the person and saying, listen, I was in that weird space, in the gospel, there's a space where they say, don't, if you have a plank in your eyes, don't, and you see, tell the other person they have a dust, so it's probably so it's, but it's another realization I have now is that as a youth, I was a very lucky person, notwithstanding traumas and situations and whatever. It was easier, and I was a nice person in the sense of, it was easier. It was my nature to be in a certain way. Then life takes you through these life situations, families, in-laws, whatever, and you realize that you have lost the innocence of
Yeah.
being pure of heart, and now you want revenge, or you wanted revenge, and you work through the whole revenge situation and realize how hard and how difficult and how sorrowful it is, and you have to swim through it to come back up again and to live in this work, in this continuous process of realizing that I'm nowhere close to be perfect, but there is a grace to work with. And even being here, I feel that it's part of that grace.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. It's like, you know, how I was talking about playing a new game. You know, you said that when I'm doing that thing, now I'm realizing that I'm doing it, you know, something that should not be done. So it's like actually work of grace that we have reached at least at this point, because from there we can now go ahead. Because earlier it was like 100 balls and, you know, no one is clicking. And now while I'm making a wrong shot, I know that I'm making a wrong shot. That's why I can correct it the next time. So this is what a human being has to do, because that's why that consciousness is there, the knowing is there. Otherwise, what's the point of knowing if there is no purpose to that knowing? So yeah, nature has, Sri Aurobindo says, nature has gotten us here. Now we have to collaborate. Yeah, beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Just one little question, Miss. Now, a lot of this word letting go. I don't understand what is letting go. Many of my family members say, let go, let go. I don't know what is letting go. Can you explain what it means letting go, letting go? Huh?
Tomorrow. You do
Oh,
your homework tomorrow, then I will
okay,
explain.
ma'am. Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you so
Maybe
much.
tomorrow you give me an insight, you know, we give both of us an insight on letting go. Who knows? Let's sleep on letting go, okay? Along with the homework. Yeah.
Anything, any descent, let it go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all for participating and
Thank you.
showing your faces. That is more important. Half of 70% of people are not showing I don't know why. Sometimes I wonder why people are not coming in the video. It's I don't know what holds them not coming in the video. अरे चेहरा दिखाने से थोड़ी कुछ हो जाता है. चेहरा दिखाइए भाई, खुश रहिए, बांटिए.
Don't
अरे
worry. I think by the end of the workshop, they will become manifest in front of you. As our divine consciousness grows,
आप
they will
बोले ना
become manifest.
ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होता है एनिमल से, स्टोन से लेके अभी तो हम लोग का रूप जो है वो एनीवे.
But
Sorry.
let's not be judgmental. Honestly, I
Yes.
switched off first because I was sleepy and it was better for me to not to doze off
Absolutely.
सर
Yeah.
चीज माफ.
here on the
Yeah,
TV.
joking. I'm just
Let's allow each one to do whatever they
sure,
want.
sure. Most
Beautiful.
welcome.
Yes. Yes.
Most. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, James. And yeah, I wish you a very good homework. And let's stay more and more conscious. And because that's why we are here. So let's do our job nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James, sir. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Bye. Tomorrow.